Okay, we'll finish up our series of Introduction to Lists. This is part 3, and we'll start with the idea that Python can have multiple assignments on the same line. This statement right here is the same thing as saying x is equal to 12 and y is equal to 45. It can also work for lists. Python sees a list of 2 elements, and it can what we call unpack that list and put the first element with x, so x would be -3, y would be 5. So we run that, and those assignments work. This is very handy, and it'll come in handy in a second for a new way of going through a loop. Our Pythonic way of going through the loop of movies is for movie in movies. And by the way, this could be for anything. You don't need to have this the same name as this, but just as a convention, it's nice to have a list be plural, and so each item in the list can be singular. So this is a pretty handy naming convention. And we can just print the movie. And this will run through and print the 3 different movies. But what happens if you do want a number? Like, let's say you wanted to say that these are my favorite movies, and number 1 is Monty Python, the Holy Grail, number 2. So you need both numbers and the value itself. So you could go something like this, which I won't and don't do this. You can say I is equal to 0, go in here and increment I, blah, blah, blah. Don't do this because there's a better way to do this. And then you would print the movie, and you'd also print the letter, the variable I. What we can do is use a new structure. Let me just make a new little list right here, a new for loop right here. You say enumerate movies. Enumerate is a function, and enumerate means it'll number things. And this is what it's doing. It'll take the first movie, but it'll return 2 things. It'll return the movie name, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and the number, which is the index, which is 0. So we can print the number and the movie. Let's see what that looks like. Actually, I also want to take this other one out so it's less cluttered. And so my top 3 favorite comedies are in order. Oh, you know what? We should make this, instead of saying 0 through 1, let's make this. And there's a second way to do this, but let's do that. My top 3 favorite movies are, and now it gives us both a number and this. And you see the key to this is that enumerate returns 2 values. The first value is the number, so it puts that in I. The second value is the value of the item. Just like this, it's a multiple. It's essentially, well, it's like this. It's unpacking 2 values and putting it into 2 different variables. There's another way to do it. Instead of having to say I plus 1, we can set a starting number for this. Enumerate. So I'll just say start equals 1, and that'll just make it so I don't need that plus 1 there. It'll start at 1, 2, 3, just like humans count instead of programmers. So we could talk about how to insert items into a list and remove items from a list. So this is a list of colors, 6 different colors. And if you want to add the color cranberry into the second index location, which would be right before the yellow is, and by the way, the yellow will just be moved down towards later on, you have an insert method. So we take colors, the variable of the list, and we're going to insert cranberry into the second index location. And let me do that. So now we should see that cranberry has been added to our list, and yellow and so forth have just been pushed down towards the end. Oops, that's this one. Okay, to remove an element from a list, we pop things off of the list. Pop without anything just removes things from the end, and that's the standard. I was going to get into explanation of that. We'll do some examples of that later. Pop removes things, but nice thing. Pop can just remove it, and that's all you need. But if you also want to grab the value that you just removed, that's what I did here. I put that into this variable, and so it popped the last thing from the list. And the last thing from the list, I guess I should highlight it here, is purple. But so when it did remove purple. It removed the last thing, but also it grabbed the value of what we did remove. And you can pop other places. We can plop the item in index 2, which is 012. It should remove cranberry again. And it did. When we printed colors again, there's no more cranberry. Finally, there are a couple ways to concatenate lists. We already saw one of them. You can just concatenate with a plus sign. I have my basic primary and secondary colors. I have a tertiary colors right here, and we can add them together to get a new variable, to new list called all colors, and you can print all colors and be a nice big long list. There's another way to do that, which does the same thing, kind of. You can concatenate using an extend method, which means it will just change the list of colors and extend it and make it longer by putting the tertiary colors at the end. The difference here is that this will actually change colors. This one didn't change either of the two, it just made a new list. So if you want to just do something in place, you don't need a new list, use the extend. Both of these, when I print them, will have a nice big long list of colors. So there they are, all the way from red to chartreuse, and both of them did the same thing. Okay, now there's just one little weirdity, and there's the last thing we're going to talk about. If you try to copy lists, be careful. Let me show you an example. Here's one song, Do, Re, Mi. Let's want to make another copy, so we have two different songs, we can edit them differently, right? Don't you think you just take this song and make a copy song 2? This does not make a new list. What this does is just makes two different variables point to the same list. So song 1 and song 2 look like they should be different lists, but they aren't. They're both the same list, and I'll show you how you can tell. I'm just going to change song 1 by making the first the index at the thing at the first index. I'm going to make that into a la, so here's the first index, so it'll be Do, La, Mi. If I print song 1, yeah, it did change it right here, Do, La, Mi, but look at this. When I print song 2, that was also changed? Shouldn't that be Do, Re, Mi? No. So this is just if you do want to make a copy, just get used to this. You can make a copy by using a copy method. This will actually copy. And another way to do it is actually just do a slice, that this song 1 will return a new list, and you can just store that in a different variable. So these one copy and another copy are independent lists from song 1, the original.